Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, the hashtag #MeToo campaign is nominated by Time magazine as Person of the Year, as its editors say the movement has unleashed one of the highest velocity shifts in our culture seen since the 1960s. Also, we meet Robin Gorna from She Decides, a movement created in response to US President Donald Trump's decision to cut funds to programs offering information about abortion. And life certainly doesn't stop at either 64 or 65. We meet the French women who are rethinking the way we should live in retirement. But first to our top story, and what began as a series of revelations about Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein and other prominent men has now become a movement in its own right. I'm talking about, of course, the anti-harassment hashtag campaign #MeToo, which has resulted in millions across the world sharing their stories online about being sexually harassed or assaulted. And Time magazine has acknowledged this extraordinary cultural shift by nominating the campaign as its Person of the Year. Rodaba Abbas has the story.
Honestly, I was furious.
I was afraid of the retaliation. I know the power of patriarchy.
Maybe if I just stand up, then someone else will stand up with me.
They are the voices that launched a movement. Their courageous decision to speak out sent shockwaves through Hollywood, but the impact is now being felt globally. Time magazine is honouring the silence breakers for its Person of the Year accolade.
Those are the group of women who all stepped forward this year to name their sexual harassers, to accuse people of abuse in the workplace.
It all started in October with an investigation by the New York Times and the New Yorker, which saw women coming forward to accuse disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein of sexual harassment and rape. The wake of the scandal inspired a snowball effect, with people from different walks of life coming forward to name their abusers. This included men in US politics, media and entertainment, resulting in multiple dismissals and investigations. Social media was instrumental in powerfully highlighting the cause with the #MeToo hashtag. It has been used by millions of users in at least 85 countries to tweet about their experiences of assault.
What was important to us was to represent people who represented not only the Harvey Weinstein accusers, but also women from all over, from different industries.
The magazine's annual tradition traces its roots back to 1927 to recognise a person who has done the most to influence the events of the year, for better or for worse.
Now, watching that report with me in the studio is Robin Gorna, a co-leader of She Decides, a political movement that's working to protect and enhance the fundamental rights of every girl and woman. Robin, thanks for coming in. I'm just curious to know, what's your reaction to the news about Time magazine nominated the #MeToo campaign as Person of the Year?
I think it's an incredible step forward. And I think when we look back on this year, you could look back with gloom and say this was the year of Trump, this was the year of Weinstein. I'd prefer to look back on it differently. I mean, how amazing that women all over the world are standing up and speaking out and saying, this is my body and it's my choice who touches it, who does what they will with it, and what I choose to do with it. And that's really what #MeToo is about, and also what She Decides is about. These are women all over the world standing up, and men as our allies, saying, I choose. No one else.
It really does feel like we're at a critical stage of the gender revolution, doesn't it?
I think it is, and I think it's a moment. We've been talking about this forever. I mean, this has been going on since Beijing. There have been decades of brilliant feminists and global leaders saying we've got to get the rights of women respected. But there's something that's happened. It's got so bad. It's so outrageous that people will play with our bodies and play with our lives and basically lead to the deaths of women and girls all over the world because of what Trump has done with US global health assistance, that they are standing up in their millions and saying, no, it's too much, it's too far.
Now, coming back to She Decides, I just want to remind the viewer about how it was created. And we were joking beforehand that you actually call the founder, or you've nominated the founder as Donald Trump. The reason being, of course, that as president, he reinstated the global gag rule, which prevents NGOs outside the US from receiving money from the American government if they provide abortions or information about abortion. Can you give me a sense of what's happened since then in the last few months?
So what's happened is that whenever a Republican president comes in, and this has been going on for a while, they put this rule, Mexico City or global gag rule, in place. And previously it sort of affected about $300–600 million worth. But what happened when he came into power, he said all of the global health money the US gives, and that's $8.8 billion, must not go to organisations that provide information or advocacy about abortion. So if we take an organisation, for example, in India, working with HIV-positive women, some of those women want to get abortions. And the charity working with them now has to make a really tough decision. Do I continue to receive money from the US government, which will let me get men and women all over India on treatment for HIV, or do I want to help those women who need an abortion? And they can't do both. They have to stop providing those services. And what will that mean? That will mean that the girls and women who need access to abortions will carry to term a pregnancy that they don't want, may well die in childbirth, just simply won't know about what their options are. And we're seeing this all over the world. And part of why it's so dreadful is that the US has become a major donor of money all across the global health field, and all these services will have to be pulled back.
Now, She Decides has been working with a variety of actors, including politicians, NGOs, the private sector and so on. But what exactly are you doing in order to counteract the Trump administration?
So what we're doing is we ask people to do three things: to stand up and speak out. So very much like the Me Too campaign, we started as a hashtag too, hashtag She Decides. And it was actually the initiative of the Dutch minister at that time, Lilian Ploumen. And she has brought together ministers from all over the world, initially from Europe, but also now from Africa, Afghanistan, Canada. We really hope the French government's going to come on board too, to say this isn't okay, a girl must decide for herself. And what we're also saying is, those governments and also the big foundations like the Children's Investment Fund Foundation will put money into the services that Trump is trying to stop. So we're getting really proactive, get the money to keep those doors open, those abortion clinics open, but also the advice so girls and women in Africa, in Latin America, in Asia get their full health and rights needs met. And we're also trying to change the rules. So if you go to countries like Uganda, a young girl who really wants to get access to contraception because she knows she's going to be sexually active can't do that without an adult. We need to change those rules so she can decide about her body, not her mum.
Now, you've been clearly working in the international sphere, but I imagine just as importantly, you need to be lobbying on the ground in Washington. Do you think it's possible at all to change Washington's stance, or are you going to have to wait for another administration to come to power?
It's really confusing what's going on in Washington right now. We hear very different messages. What we do know is that there's a lobby pushing hard because there are people who are anti-abortion. What we also know is there are many politicians who haven't realised the extent of the damage they're causing, and we really hope that they can start to see the error, that by extending it this way they're going to damage all of the brilliant work that the US has invested in terms of HIV, malaria, TB and other global health control. And even if there are people who don't like abortion, I don't believe those people want to see the deaths, the mortality, the human scale of damage, the economic pain that this is causing to countries. So we're hopeful that the smart lobbyists who are part of She Decides are going to do the right thing.
Robin Gorna, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Annette.
Now, like many European countries, the French population is getting older, and as the baby boomer generation reaches retirement age, many are looking for alternatives to traditional care and housing. For instance, here in Paris, a group of dynamic women have devised a new kind of communal living for the elderly, based on their shared values of feminism. Ellen Gainsford went to visit where they live to see if indeed the idea is working.
This might seem like a casual lunch between friends, but there's more to this group of women than meets the eye. With a knowing wink, they call themselves the Baby Yagas, a term used in Slavic folklore meaning witch.
Welcome.
Taking control of their retirement, they live together in a self-managed social housing project. Kirsten has been with the group for just over a year.
When I was little, people my age would go into a retirement home, read, sleep, that was it. But now that's all changed.
Battling social isolation was one of the main motivations for creating the Baba Yaga's house.
If
we're on our own, it's difficult to go out. But here there's always someone to go out with, to the Philharmonie Orchestra, or to an exhibition at the Grand Palais. When we come back, we're 10 years younger at heart and in spirit.
Each month, the Baba Yagas organise a film night. The screening is open to the public. Tonight, they're showing a feminist classic, Mai Zetterling's 1968 film, The Girls.
We don't talk enough about female characters in films. As Mai Zetterling said, they are often only there to make other characters look good. We want to watch films that treat women as subjects, not as objects.
After the film, there's a buffet, so the cinema club can have a glass of wine together and discuss what they've seen.
We show the films that we love. We share them with the Baba Yagas and with the residents of Montreuil. The cinema club is open to the town. Everyone is welcome.
By 2050, 1 person in 3 in France will be age 60 or over, making the debate over how to live happily in later life an important one. Exchanging ideas and interests, the Baba Yagas are keen to get involved in their local community, proving that your age doesn't have to limit your role in society.
And that's it for now. And you can connect with us via our Facebook page, that of course being France24.51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. Thanks for your feedback so far. And yes, please do keep those comments and suggestions rolling in. So until our next show, bye for now.